All right, everyone, welcome back to the Midnight Magic Musings channel. I am your humble host, the Lord Cephas. I am joined by the Earl of Florida once again. Earl, it's been too long. How are you doing?
I have successfully taken over the southeast of the United States of America.
Was it difficult to achieve that feat?
No, it's not difficult because anybody who walks out is actually suffering from my heat ray, which means they are melting into a puddle of sweat. So my plan to take over the world is working wonderfully.
So we could call
And
it.
in case
Go ahead.
it's the same thing we're doing tomorrow night.
Thank you, Brain. I appreciate that. So could we call this project Firestorm? Because that's how it feels where I'm at.
That works. Or, your brain melts out your ears into a puddle of the ground storm. Also works pretty
Well, I was
accurately.
I was in the Pacific Northwest last week for work, and I leave, and all of a sudden it's in the mid 90s out there today. So that just tells you maybe it's like me. It's like there's some breach, and the warp core is pulling it like a zipper across space, and I have no core, no warp core to eject that we could blow up, so it could seal the zipper that's being created.
Or it's just your fault. Uh,
No, I learned from Star Trek: The Next Generation. The answer to everything is eject the core. Just eject the warp core. It'll
That
fix
should
it.
be that's. We should turn that into a song from the tune from Scrubs. Eject the core. All you gotta do is eject. That doesn't work.
We're not
You
going to do
gotta.
that here. No, 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 no. No, 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 no. I feel like, I'm a meme from, the old French show. No, 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 no. Not going to happen. Not tonight. Not on my watch. But there are some things that are on our watch, and we'll get to those here in just a moment. But first of all, we want to just ask of you to please click that like button if you would. It really does help the channel grow. We continue to see record growth. Our subscribers continue to rise. We greatly appreciate everyone who has subscribed, everyone who tunes in for the greatest dad jokes that have ever been unleashed upon the internet. I do appreciate all those that have done that and clicked a like on those. Those who have subscribed, sorry, I thought you were going to pull through the barber beefcake type move here on the show, and I wasn't sure how I was going to explain that to everybody. Maybe, oh, I see. It's a torture move. Well, you just go ahead and have fun with that, big fella. Mm. But everybody, again, thank you for liking. Thank you for subscribing. You go ahead and share this out with your friends. Share it out with people you don't like. We're happy to torture them for you if that's what you want. We are here to be of service to you. But in all
And
seriousness,
Lord Cephas, the other direction, is the one who does the dad joke. So blame him for it all. I did release a word of the day on one of our social accounts. Did you see it?
I have not seen it,
The,
but Lady Cephas actually told me you've done that, so I need to check that out tonight after we're done.
the word of the day is pasteurize. I threw the football pasteurize. Yeah.
I'm just gonna have to
No.
say no to that. That's just gonna be a no for me. As the great Randy Jackson once said on American Idol, it's a no for me, dog. It's a no for me. All right. Well, welcome to Midnight Magic Music. It is our 25th episode. It's kind of an anniversary thing. Who thought we'd make it 25 episodes? I know people that wish we hadn't made it 25 episodes, but here we are. And so I want to take just a moment to thank Lady Cephas for sitting in last week for episode 24. We talked about Fear the Walking Dead, their mid-season finale. We talked about Dead City. She assured me earlier this evening she will come back to talk more Dead City this weekend, so be looking for that. We'll do a Realm of Reality episode, just kind of dedicated to that series, to that genre. We'll talk a little bit of the Daryl Dixon series, which had some news drop this week, and some Rick and Michonne news, because that's apparently the name of the show, Rick and Michonne.
That's the name of the title. Yeah.
Yeah,
The
yeah,
Walking Dead. Rick
yeah.
and Michonne.
Well,
It's
you got to tell,
official. The title.
you got to tell people what to expect, right? You've got to set the expectation. So, Lady Cephas and I will be recording sometime this weekend to talk a little bit about that. So we're going to bring it down. We're going to bring it down just a little bit here. So thank you for being here. We do appreciate it. Now let's go ahead. Let's get into our main topics that we're going to talk about tonight. Here is the first main topic that we are going to do, and we're going to title this "Indie Films." Now, when you hear someone say indie films, you start thinking about films that may not have, let's say, major distribution, right? For example, we had a movie drop on the 4th of July. It's kind of a strange day to drop a movie, but Angel Studios released a movie called Sound of Freedom, which was made by a faith based company. It was shopped around. Actually, it had a deal with 20th Century Fox going as far back as 2018. And then, it got sold to Disney. Well, Fox did. Disney kind of shelved the project. They got the rights back to release it somewhere else. And then COVID hit. They had all these issues. And then finally, once they got the rights back to this movie, it stars James Caviezel. Is that how you say the name?
JC Jim Caviezel.
Yeah, Caviezel.
Caviezel.
He played Jesus in Passion of the Christ. He was also in the series Person of Interest on CBS. Had about a 5-season run on that, which I absolutely love that series. But
he started off as a hobo and
That's-
became a kick butt bobo.
it was, you know what? I don't care what anybody says. I really, really, really enjoyed that series. But he's the star of the movie, and that actually dropped on the 4th of July. And here's just something random for everybody. It made somewhere, or it has made somewhere in the range of, I want to say, about $18 million in 2 days. It opened to about 14 million on Tuesday, on the 4th of July. And then on Wednesday, it made about another another 5 million. So it's made on average about 9 million per day. So 18 and a half is about where it sits. That's
How many
really,
theaters was it in, though?
it's funny that you asked that. That's an interesting segue because it's only in about 2,600 theaters. It's
That's
26.
impressive.
It is impressive. It's only in about 2,600 theaters, and the reason that's important is because it's got good word of mouth. It's probably going to have legs. They've had a really good grassroots campaign, and their budget is somewhere between 14 and a half and $15 million. Now, normally on the show, we say it's a 2x multiplier. So if it's 15 million, you need to land somewhere around 45.
This one, I would assume their marketing is probably not anywhere near the double, like the budget, like what some of the bigger theaters are. So I would say I don't know what would be an accurate description of this. I mean, maybe half the budget.
maybe.
I mean, what do you think?
So they raised about $5 million at one point to kind of get the movie started, and then they got about another like 9.5. That's where that 14 and a half, $15 million budget. That's the estimate. The marketing was not
Okay.
that huge. They went through a lot of
Yeah.
of churches and faith-based organizations, synagogues and such. And to really get the word out, they
Yep.
had a campaign where you could buy tickets for people to go see the movie. I mean, they really did a fantastic job in marketing this thing. It was never meant to be a huge blockbuster movie for the summer. It was sort of a niche, kind of playing off of a patriotic theme. The idea is it's a former veteran who goes, and I know YouTube, we have to be careful how we say this, goes to stop, we'll call it this, human trafficking. And we'll leave it at that because of the algorithms and things like that. So that's
And it's loosely based on a true story.
it is loosely
I
based on.
haven't checked it. I don't know how accurate it is to the true story because I haven't looked into it myself, but I will be. So, but we do know it is at the minimum, loosely based.
Mhm.
So
Now,
keep that in
going into
mind.
this, the pre-release projections, they were thinking now this is for 6 days, right? Because it came out on a Tuesday. They were
Yeah.
thinking it was going to be somewhere in the 11 million to 15 million range. And in 2 days, because we don't have today's results here on Thursday as we record this, it's made $18.5 million over 2 days. So it's already exceeded the 6 days. So I
Yep.
feel like this thing's got some legs because you've got another 10 days before really anything else comes out. Now, you do have Insidious 5 coming out this weekend. So it's going to be in competition with that. Now, listen, I know they're two different genres. I know they're probably two different markets, but hey, that's something. But Earl, I almost forgot. Indie films. Indie, you say? Oh, yes.
Indie?
There was one
Isn't
more.
that the name of a dog?
I do believe Indiana is the name of a dog, if Sean Connery is to be believed. And of course, you know what we're talking about. We're talking about Indiana Jones and
Henry. Henry
yes,
Jones.
that's true. And the Dial of Destiny open this weekend. And how do I say this and say this gently?
They need to turn the dial back.
And I can't quote word for word from the Deadline article, but basically what it said was this just barely beat out the July 4th flop that was Superman Returns. That's the track for this movie. Now, for those who don't remember, Superman Returns starred Brandon Routh, which, by the way, I'm going to say was actually a really good
Brandon Routh, Kevin Spacey, James Marsden. Come on.
Brandon Routh, always loved him as Ray Palmer in the Arrowverse on the CW. I thought he actually did a really great job, but the movie did not do well. It was not well received. It is what we would call, boys and girls in the movie biz, a flop. That is, and you can actually keep making that sound and just keep looking down because it's still falling. That's kind of how that went. And unfortunately,
if I could pick a picture, it would be the picture of Superman carrying that giant island of kryptonite up there, and then just falling to Earth.
It's interesting.
I'm sorry, Brandon Routh. I do love you.
We do love you, Brandon Routh. We appreciate it. We hope to have you on the show one day. If you look at the first 3 days of this, Earl, it totaled up about $60 million, which, for any other movie would probably be okay, but not for this one. When you have, and it's estimated to be somewhere about a $350 million budget. Oh, and we haven't talked about marketing, which we've seen articles in the last day or two where actually that was probably lower than what people thought. It's probably more than that. So we can conservatively say it's probably in the range of $450 to $500 million.
It's Ant-Man 3.
Well, it took in 60 the first 3 days. If you add in July 3rd and July 4th, the Independence Day, so you've now got a 5-day window, right? It was only up to $83 million over 5 days. So if you do a little bit quick math, how many times will 5 go into 85? What is that? About 16 times? Something like that? About 16 times into 83 million.
Not enough.
Yeah.
Not enough.
It's not. And I take no pleasure in that. We've talked about this on the show many times. Indiana Jones is a childhood hero of ours. How many times we wore out that VHS copy of Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade?
All I can say is for this particular one, they have chosen poorly.
Now he's quoting the Knights Templar from the
from the last Indiana Jones movie.
Oh, you're not counting Crystal Skull?
What?
Exactly. It's a multiverse story. I understand. It's Elseworlds, right?
Well, it is an interdimensional alien species, so.
So unfortunately, it was not the weekend that Disney and Lucasfilm wanted. And we've said it on the show a bunch of times. You just need a win. You need a couple of wins to kind of get the momentum going the way you want. This wasn't it.
At the least, not a loss.
Well, exactly. You know what? At this point, breaking even would be a win, based on and we'll talk about that a little bit later. But Earl,
as long as they can keep Indy, as long as Indy can stick around more than a few weeks before getting massively yanked off of every theater,
that is an issue. And thank you for bringing that up because you know what happens. Now remember we said Insidious 5, you got The Sound of Freedom. You still have a couple of other movies that are still legging out a little bit. Guardians Volume 3, we'll talk about in our overtime section how that is doing. So you got about 10 days right now. You drop
Yep.
Insidious 5 this weekend, and they're going to fight it out. And in
Yeah.
fact, Sound of Freedom actually beat Indiana Jones on July 4th. It actually made more money. Now, yesterday, that was right, and Indiana Jones jumped back ahead, which it should. Come on, it absolutely should. That's not the PR that Disney needs. And now you've got about a 10-day window for Indiana Jones to be in contest with the Sound of Freedom and Insidious 5 when it drops this weekend. And Indy may win the weekend again. It may finish second. It's not inconceivable it finishes third. And if something like that happens, that's the last PR hit that movie needs because not this weekend, Earl, but the following weekend. There's some movie coming out with some newcomer, Tom Chris, Tom Cross, Cruise, Tom Cruise.
Auto cruise.
Yeah, he's got
Cruise control.
some movie coming out, some spy movie in a franchise that people are tired of. No one's going to probably go see, him.
Is it two hands worth anymore? I don't know. What digit is it? Like
I,
9, 10,
I would
12?
say it is two hand worthy, actually. But you have the new Mission Impossible movie coming out, and I promise you, dude, that's going to just crush everything in sight. And
Are
so
you predicting another Top Gun Maverick?
I think being a summertime movie and not a lot of competition, because what we just talked about does not come across a lot of competition. I think there's a really good chance that if it's good, if it's not just explosions, if it's a good story, people are going to go and they're going to go
Well,
back.
isn't this one of a two-part ending or
Yeah,
three-part ending?
yes, it is.
Two-part ending.
It's a two-part story. Is how they're filming this. So basically, you're dropping part one,
Bum, bum.
and if part one is successful, part two will even increase the
Murder.
franchise. And so, indie films, man, it is difficult times. Dare I quote the American Dream, Dusty Rhodes? It's hard times, or hard times have been put on Disney with what's going on in the movie theater. But we'll talk a little more about Disney here in just a little bit. We'll take another topic here. And this one's going to take us a little bit off the beaten path because we like to change things up here on Midnight Magic Musings. And I may have to explain this one to some of the viewers. Oops, it happened again in honor of Brittney Spears. Oh, Brittney, we love you. We do. No one can argue that she has a place in pop culture. No one can argue that she has not been successful as a musical artist. No argument there. But apparently, she spotted Victor Wembanyama. Now, Earl, you may not know who Victor Wembanyama was, but he was the first pick in the NBA draft a couple of weeks ago. Now, he was picked by the San Antonio Spurs. Young man's from France. And really, he's coming to America. Really, he hasn't been here that much. So he's kind of learning, feeling things out. And he's got a security detail. And as the story goes, depending upon who you believe, she either tapped him on the shoulder, or as the security indicated, and as Victor indicated, she grabbed him from behind. Now, I wasn't there. I don't know. But as the story goes, she was struck by one of the members of security. Now, Earl, in all seriousness, we don't play with violence. That's not what we do on this show.
Yeah.
But I just want to ask you a couple of things on this. Just get your take on it.
Okay.
How do you feel about security immediately going to a physical altercation with not just Brittney, but any fan who may try to get close to an athlete or to some other form of celebrity? How do you view something like that?
That's I guess a sensitive subject these days. Pretty much, if your immediate response is violence, that's probably not the best way to go unless you're in a situation where the threat of violence is imminent.
Mhm.
Would be my thought process. Just because somebody touches you, yes, it's unwanted. Yes, it can be technically be aggravated assault or assault. But I mean, the difference between a fan, say a youthful fan, when you go hey, and when you go, get your attention and potentially being slammed to the floor, that's an over, in my opinion, that's a little bit too much hands on.
Mhm.
I can understand the processes that's going on. You don't know, but you have to use common sense here. And I know that's a short supply these days. Oh,
Well,
but
yeah.
I mean, if you respond with violence, that doesn't set a very good precedent. It also doesn't show a really good mindset. If you think you're in that much of a threatful situation that your first response is violence, then maybe you shouldn't be wherever you're at if you're thinking that.
Well, and again, we want to be sensitive because we weren't there.
Yeah,
And I've heard a lot of jokes on social media at her expense. Here's the thing: I don't want anybody getting hit. It
yeah,
doesn't. We make jokes on this show all the time. We make jokes in personal life, but at the end of the day, I don't want anybody to be hurt, violence, mistreated, or whatever did or did not happen.
yeah,
My thing is simply this: in the world in which we live, I have my phone sitting here beside me. Everybody's got one, and I really do believe you have to be careful, not only as security, but as obviously the celebrity. But this is not the best look. This is not the best way Victor probably wants to start his NBA career. He's got a wonderful career ahead of him. I mean, at least until he gets down in on the block and LeBron dips his shoulder and lays him out because Victor's got a lot of growing to do physically. He's a wonderful talent. He can shoot 3 pointers. He can take you off the dribble. He is not going to bang inside. He is going to get bruised. He's going to have to put on weight, I think, to be able to handle the rigors of the NBA. Um,
yeah.
I think it's just it's an unfortunate thing. There may be some questions that come out of it. There may be some repercussions. Ultimately, I know that Brittney Spears has been through a lot the last few years with estrangement from her family. I know she said today she had a statement she's made up with her mother. I'm always happy about that when people make up with their families. But it's just, celebrity culture is a very difficult thing to navigate. And what's interesting is even celebrities get awed by other celebrities
Yeah.
or they're fascinated by other celebrities. It's not just, what would you call us? Hacks, I guess, on YouTube is what we are. So hopefully all that gets straightened out.
Yeah.
Again, if you ever see a celebrity, always be careful approaching them. Be respectful. Someone's having dinner, don't walk up on them when they're visiting with their family or whatnot, because they don't know you.
Because these are human beings.
Yeah. And
You
I've had
know,
the opportunity to have my pictures taken with celebrities at airports and such. But you read the room before you go and do something. If they're eating, don't bother them. If they're in solitude and don't want to be bothered, leave them alone. If they're standing there in line with you and you want to say hi, I'm a fan. Could I have a picture taken with you? If they say no, don't get mad about it. You have
yeah.
kids. You have people who want to snap pictures of you. You know what the kids do? They snap pictures of you when you don't want them to. You're taking a bite of food. It looks like your mouth is that big as they're taking that picture. Whatever it is. There are times you don't want your picture taken. You've got bedhead or you didn't dress up. You're still in your night clothes. Like, oh, don't do that. Don't put that on my. It's the same thing. And so
Yeah.
hopefully we can learn a lesson from this. If nothing else, and that is just be careful what you do because right now the world we live in is very charged. There's a lot of animosity. There's a lot of fear and anxiety. I'm not saying a lot of it's not warranted, but I'm saying you just have to be careful. So hopefully all of that works out. Well,
And the rule is treat people how you want to be treated. If you want somebody in your face flashing pictures, I want a signature, give me a selfie, blah blah blah. Would you really care for that? Mm. So just be mindful of how you would like to be treated and use that as a weight.
so when I took my first ethics class in college, I'll never forget this, Earl. The first thing they taught us is something most of us have heard all of our lives in some form or variation. Some people refer to
But
it as golden rule. You know, do to other people how you want them to do to you. I have heard people say, "Well, do it to someone else before they can do it to you." That's not what we're talking about.
Yeah,
Treat people well,
that's not exactly. Yeah,
right? So hopefully, you treat people like the Earl and I do, not how the Baron treats me on our other shows. But I
that
want to.
that's just you and a hat, from what I've heard.
Yeah, I've heard that. Sure, the beard not being here, but that's okay. All right. Well, let's maybe have a little more positive discussion, if we could. And I put a quote up here, and the Earl nailed it when we were doing the pre-show tonight. This comes from a movie named Cobra. It aired in the mid 80s, and for reasons I cannot explain, my mother, my beautiful, precious mother, allowed me to go see that in theaters as probably a 7 or 8 year old. It was a cop procedural. It was a very dark cop procedural starring a birthday boy today. And that birthday boy, Sylvester Stallone, turns 77. He said, "You're the disease, and I'm the cure."
And I'm the cure.
That's exactly right. So that's why we chose to use this here. Earl, it is Sly's birthday. We do want to wish him happy birthday on behalf of Midnight Magic Musings. But I was thinking about this driving around today. He has been the star of the Rambo franchise, the Rocky franchise,
All 400 of them. Yes.
as it should be. The Rambo cartoon that gets overlooked in the mid 80s that had like 100 and something episodes. Underrated. Look it up.
Yeah.
Because of all the characters in the 80s you want is Rambo running around. Never killed anybody. Never did the cartoons. By the way, there was also Chuck Norris Karate Commandos. That's for a different show.
Yeah.
He's in Rambo. He's in Rocky. Most of them. Okay, not the last one. And he was not in Creed 3. The direct descendant. And then the other one, I was thinking about, he's been in the Expendables.
Number
Kind
4 coming out.
Yeah. So, can you really think of any other actors or actresses that have been in that many franchises that were successful and basically been the linchpin for almost all the movies in those franchises? Can you think of anybody come to you right off the top of your head that has that level of success?
I mean, when you think of Sylvester Stallone, you immediately think of his counterpart, of his opponent for many years, and now his good friend, Arnold Schwarzenegger. And you
Actually, was
think of
on
his,
their reality show last week.
yeah, I mean, if you think of his career, it's also, you know, lengthy. You know, you have Conan 1 and 2 with a
Mhm.
promise of King Conan that never happened, but you know what? I'm still hopeful. Obviously, the Terminator movies that are
Very good.
what are they at, 6 or 7 now? And I think the official word is he has stepped down. He will not be reprising a role in the next Terminator movie.
There were only two Terminator
Yes.
movies. No, there were only two. I
You
don't know
know
if we're
what?
talking for that.
Hey, Skynet will go back in time and take care of the issue.
Well, Skynet or the board. It doesn't matter. They're going to change time. All right. So
But I
that's
mean,
that's two franchises. Do you have a third?
I mean, if you think about it, you got most of his films fall in that action comedy satire, which is like Commando, Last Action Hero, Eraser, True Lies. They're all very similar. But I would think, yeah, for the most part with him, it would be Terminator, Conan. I think those who might be his big franchises.
Well,
I mean,
I thought about Harrison Ford, Star Wars,
I don't know if
Indiana,
you would. I,
Indiana Jones. I guess you could make the argument for Blade Runner. You could argue it since he was in the last movie.
I mean, if you went that way, you could say Jack Ryan as well.
Patriot Games, Clear and Present Danger. So two out of the original three. Obviously, Alec Baldwin played in The Hunt for Red October.
And then who? Chris Pine, Ben Affleck, John Krasinski.
Yeah, who's doing a wonderful
But
job on the Jack Ryan series, which is coming into their final season.
season 4.
Yeah, which will be their final one. So I guess just thinking
Yep.
about.
No, maybe somebody else who would maybe not so much with the multiple franchises, he'd be more in the vein of Arnold Schwarzenegger. You would have Bruce Willis. He had the Die Hard that was a long, gestating series. You've also
Sure.
got like the whole 9 yards, the whole 10 yards, and then a plethora of other movies that he's done. I mean, a massive amount.
Well, I guess I'm
But
just
the
thinking as far as franchises themselves rather
okay,
than single movies. Can you think of too many actors or actresses that really have that level of
Keanu
franchise
Reeves,
they've helmed?
Keanu Reeves, 3 Bill and Ted's,
Okay.
4 Matrixes, 4 John Wicks. I think
Wicks.
those are pretty good list of franchises right there that have made
And I think the Bill and Ted gets
a
overlooked
killing.
just because of when they were and the subject matter and subject content. But they certainly launched his career, and Alex Winter, who was in it with him, has become a prolific director
Oh yeah,
in Hollywood. So he's turned out to do very well. Also, I just find that interesting. I mean, look, he's 77. He just wrapped Tulsa King season 1. Season 2 is coming back. The ratings were excellent. He's got
yeah.
a reality show where it's him, his wife Jennifer, and his 3 daughters. One of his
Have you
youngest.
watched it? Have you watched it?
I'm 6 episodes into the 8 episode run. Yes, thank you for asking.
You, sir, have lost your man card. I would not be caught dead watching a reality TV show where Sylvester Stallone gets pranked by his daughter about the potential birth of a grandchild while she is unmarried. I would never watch that. You can
Or his
see the
brother going
veins.
to Atlantic City to perform a concert. Yeah, I would never watch that either. Um, but it's very interesting that we tend to say, hey, you have to keep your good looks up to a certain age, and women unfortunately have the worst end of all of it, and that is they're in front of the camera. Oh, they have to be beautiful all the time, and voluptuous, and when wrinkles start, they kind of get push them to the side. Men get treated with a different standard, but I will in a lot of ways they do. Your hair can get gray, you can get wrinkled. Oh, you're an elder statesman. No,
You're
no,
distinguished. You're a gray fox. You're a yeah.
you're both
I
elderly.
don't.
And we're heading that way too. We'll be there one
No,
day.
I don't have any gray hair right now.
No, you have purple hair and a purple beard. Maybe we'll have time to get into that into overtime. Why you are
It's
grimace like.
lavender. It's
It,
lavender.
okay, it's definitely probably has something to do with the grimace shake. Is probably what this is. But we want to celebrate him. Say happy birthday, Sly. Having a bit of a career renaissance, if you will. And that's interesting because television is giving actors and actresses the opportunity. Harrison Ford, 1923. He's going to have a second season of that. We assume
Indiana Jones.
second season. What Helen Mirren, absolutely. Who is an older woman but absolutely terrifies me on that show.
She
I
terrifies me in all her shows here lately. She's been the woman that's like, "Oh, I'm stately, but I'll murder you, and you will cry, and I will make you think I'm hot." Hey, Red with Bruce Willis and Morgan Freeman. She's got that sniper rifle. She's just like, I'm like, she's dangerous, she's deadly. I kind of got a crush on her right now. I'm afraid of her, and I've got a crush on her at the same time. Is that wrong? I don't care.
You took it very
If it's
positive.
wrong, I don't want to be right. Anywho,
But not that it's ever on the rails, but it's even further off the rails than normally tonight. Okay, well, I don't
what
know.
about Vin Diesel?
Okay, so you've got the Fast and Furious franchise. What else you got? The
The
Triple X franchise.
Chronicles of Riddick franchise. There's
Okay,
4.
okay. Triple X got a second movie, didn't it?
Oh yeah, he wasn't in the second movie, but he was
That's
in the third movie.
that's right. That's right.
Yeah,
So that's a possibility. Um, so it's if you start looking at it, it's not that many people
no,
that really had that many movies. So cheers to him for not only his sticking power but his ability to draw. Paramount Plus has a lot of
duck and
programming.
weave, duck and weave,
That's right. One step, one punch at a time. That's what Rocky
and
would say.
it's not about how hard you can hit. It's about how hard you can get hit and keep moving forward.
I can't get hit very hard. Keep going forward. I'd be going backwards. I'd be going down.
What was the other one from Rocky Balboa? He goes, "It's not about how many times you get knocked down, but how many." No, it's not about the size of the. I don't remember.
You are a terrible fight coordinator, and you're also a terrible statistician because you can't remember anything.
I can remember some things.
Such as,
That's how you down.
fortunately, he
This is
broke
from
up.
Pulp Fiction.
Moving on. All right, our last main topic of the show, because I don't know how much longer I can continue going with this. It is our weekly dose of As Disney Turns, or if you prefer, As Disney Burns. Now, it's a fire, but the Indiana Jones movie just did not help the case. Now, Earl, we've talked a lot this year. We talked about Ant-Man 3,
Yes.
Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. Did not do well.
Yes.
It just didn't.
No.
And having seen the film, I understand what they were going for. I understand in a lot of ways it is a vehicle to move his daughter into the Young Avengers. I do recognize that is a goal. But that movie just vastly underperformed. And you can say, well, the writing wasn't very good, or the movie wasn't very good, or the CGI wasn't very good. I got 15 different things I can throw at it. The ultimate outcome is I didn't do well. Guardians 3, which was the next movie up. After the first weekend, it was dicey how well it was going to do. It was 7 years after number 2. By the way, it's legged out to about $836 million, which is a nice number. But if we're being candid, did not catch Guardians 2. Did not catch it. It's going to end up falling short by about $25 million.
Now
Now,
I've got a lot to say about. I have a lot to say about Guardians 3, and I'm going to use Groot's language. I am Groot. You agree?
clean this mess up. That's what I say to you, sir. Don't talk to
I
me
am
that way.
Groot.
I know. Oh, yeah, I'm not boring.
I am Groot.
Yeah, exactly. Please, it's a family. He said, welcome to the Guardians of the Galaxy. So they've just not hit. Now, in 2019, they had, I believe it was $7 billion movies, as in movies that grossed $1 billion. Unheard of. I will use Lady Cephas' word that she hates more than any word. Unprecedented. She can't hear me because she's upstairs resting.
Unprecedented.
Shut up! They're not hitting those numbers again. And unfortunately, over the years, we've talked about this. We've documented it as the budgets go up and the profits are coming down. And now we find out this week that Doctor Strange and Multiverse of Madness actually had more money spent on it than was originally reported, which means that profit margin that everybody was so excited about, all of a sudden coming back down to where you're getting close to maybe you broke even. Now, listen, I can't imagine grossing $800 million. I can't. But Earl, here's the question I want to ask of you. They don't have any other movies coming out until November. The Marvels. I'm going to ask you to put on your prognostication hat because they have a conference call coming up next month in August. How, if you were in charge, how would you spend this? Can it even be spun? To the shareholders, to Wall Street, who, by the way, last week downgraded them. Downgraded Disney. That doesn't happen. Even Wall Street's like, y'all got problems. Earl, is there anything Disney can do? Are there any steps you would take to kind of say, hey, we got problems, but maybe we can right this a little bit?
It's all Feige's fault.
It's
Don't
what?
fire me.
Yes, that's all Feige's fault. Yes.
or it's all his fault. Don't fire me.
No, you don't get off that easy.
Well, I mean, I think we may be seeing some of the plan of don't oversaturate with we had Guardians came out in the end of May. It was
So,
in May, or was it in June?
for what? Secret Wars?
Guardians. It was May, right?
Yes.
Gar- Okay, so we've got June, July, August, September, October. So there'll be, what, 6 months between the Marvel movie coming out, which is kind of unprecedented these days. It's been go, go, go. Every 3 or 4 months, you've got a Marvel movie coming out. And in between that, you've got one or two Marvel series coming out. So we have Secret Invasion hitting, but what hits after Secret Invasion on Disney Plus? We push back Loki till winter almost.
I'm
Uh,
I'm thinking after Loki season 2 is Echo, which we'll touch on
yeah,
here in
but,
a second too.
but when is Loki season 2? It's been pushed back to fall or winter.
They've actually talked about bringing it forward again into late August, early September. The challenge
So
is the writer strike is going to mess everything up. People aren't
yeah.
thinking in terms right now, but it's going to affect the content coming out.
So the question becomes, will this big gap on the big screen help or hurt the Marvels? Will it make people want to go see a movie because they haven't seen a Marvel movie recently, or make people fall further away from? I don't care. Uh,
So that's a hard
I
one.
don't. I can't make an accurate guess of how things are going to go because we haven't seen the marketing, we haven't seen any build-up, we haven't even seen any. I mean, we've seen one trailer, but we haven't seen enough to say, okay, I have faith, or oh Lord, put on the trauma pads because it's going to hurt. I mean, what do you think? Do you want to even guess on how Marvel's is going to do? Do we even know how much money is being spent on that? Do we want to know the budget?
I'm sure these budgets, the Disney Plus budgets, are probably less because they're not bringing in as much CGI and superheroes. So I'm sure it's
Yeah.
less. You look at Secret Invasion, which is going on right now, and now you've
Hmm.
almost completed the first episode. I'm up through episode 4, so we'll leave that alone. But I will say this: streaming numbers show it is again, it's in Miss Marvel range in terms of
Which I did.
streaming. Now, anyone who watches this show
But
for any period of time knows I love Miss Marvel. So I'm not making fun of it. I'm being honest. That's your numbers. So yet again, here's
yeah.
another series that's at the bottom.
Well,
So
here's a perspective from the Earl of Florida's household. WandaVision. So I have three older kids, two younger ones, and a mother. So we all sat there. My mother tapped out of WandaVision after like the first 2 or 3 episodes, and the younger tapped out but I had two kids stick around. Then for Loki, did the similar, had about two kids stick around. Then you had Hawkeye, which was a little bit more kid friendly with Haley Steinfeld, and I had three kids stick around and my mother. Uh, for the horror one, I forget what it was called.
Werewolf.
Yes, thank you. Uh, the majority of everybody watched it because they liked the horror genre, and the noir aspect was different. It was refreshing, actually. Uh, Even She-Hulk, my mother made it through that. I don't know how, and two of my kids made it through it. I sit down to watch Secret Invasion, and before I get halfway through the first episode, I'm sitting there by myself watching it because they don't care about Samuel Jackson. They don't care about Everett Ross. They don't care about Maria Hill because they're like, who is Maria Hill? It's been that long. Nobody cares. It's been what, Captain America 2,
It's
maybe? The
it's
end.
your it's your mother because she
Well,
was.
even the kids didn't care either, and I got to near the end of the first episode and they've all tapped out. They don't care. So what's happening with the fan base? Who is Invasion Wars supposed to be reaching? Because it's not.
Well, anyone who knows the backstory of the series, because it was a major milestone in the Marvel comics, is the idea is anybody could be a scroll. I mean, I'm not giving away spoilers. They've shown that in the trailer.
Yeah.
And I've heard people say, "Oh, this is going to change the Marvel universe forever," and I'm like, "How?" Because you got shapeshifters. Because we've never seen that before.
Because
I just
now
think
we
that's
have ways to we have ways of bringing back some of the old characters now.
you know what? I'm sorry, but that pony, I think that trick doesn't work. After a while, I
No.
think the law of diminishing returns has caught up with these movies much quicker than people thought they would. And I'll throw one other thing out at you and get you to respond. After Secret Invasion, there's nothing until
Hmm.
Echo. Now, for those of you not familiar with Echo, she was a character that was introduced in the Hawkeye series, which, if I remember right, it was almost what 2 Thanksgivings ago, I
Yep.
believe, when the Hawkeye series
Almost
was.
2 years ago.
Yeah, she was introduced, and I was like, okay. She was automatically given a series renewal. Reports coming out this week that had it not been for the writer's strike, there was talks about just straight scrapping that series, even after it
Yep.
was shot and ready to go. The
Yeah.
writer's strike may have saved the series to actually be shown. Earl, did you ever think you lived to see a day where Disney was going all WB? Because they were going to Batgirl Echo. For
Yeah.
those that don't know, Batgirl was fully shot, ready to go, and David Zaslav absolutely dropped the sword on that one. Is like, nope, we're not releasing it.
Well,
That's
what about
that's what Echo was.
Agatha Coven? What about the Agatha movie or series? What happened there?
It got. I'm looking at it way over there in the corner. It got pushed back way over there.
How much of
Um,
it got filmed? Because they started filming it, but I don't know how far they got. Did
how
they
much?
finish it?
How much is Blade? How much is Blade filmed? That one's been a herky jerky start stop, and
If
it's
we're
not.
if we're doing a percentage, Blade has been filmed about negative 35%.
And we're not
We
doing
went backwards.
we're not doing this to pick on Disney but it's just they hold themselves out as the number one entertainment brand. So when you're number one, guess what? Everybody's gunning for you. But there was a Deadline article that came out this week that said even though they flopped their last couple of movies, and by the way, you can throw Little Mermaid in there too. It's not going to make its butt.
Unfortunately,
Internationally, the numbers are not there like
yeah.
they've been, and that's been a big part of the Disney strategy is making money overseas. But do you know what has made money overseas, Earl? Fast X, Transformers: Rise of the Beasts, because those movies translate very well. In
And let's
fact,
face it, both those movies were saved by overseas.
I'm going to argue something, and I know I'm crazy. I'm going to argue they're really made for the overseas business.
That
They just have
yeah,
to
not anymore.
release them in America.
Yeah, well, I mean, look at the last Transformer movie and the last Fast and Furious movie. Both of them, if it was just a domestic haul, mm,
Uh-huh.
overseas made their money and saved their bacon.
And now, when you're a
I'm
major
just saying.
studio and you're not getting that rate of return, oh dear. We haven't seen it with Indiana Jones. It
Yep.
hasn't gotten that rate of return. It's got 70 million internationally, 89 million domestically. It's almost evenly split.
I think it. I think that's the other way around. I
Oh,
think they've made more internationally. I
oh, really?
think.
Yeah, I can update these numbers here. I think it's 5644 is what I was looking at for the 159, but I may have transposed the numbers there.
But I
Um,
mean,
it's
everybody's thrown off of the Little Mermaid. Oh, it's done so bad. Oh, it's horrible. But I mean, they've made some money off of it. As of right now, they've made 284 million in the U.S. and 243 million on other territories. Now, did they make back their money? Again, we go back to your schematics. The
yeah,
budget was 250. They've made 528 million. They
and
might have broken even, maybe,
not even
but
because
probably,
you don't get all that money.
yeah,
You get 50 something
yep.
percent domestically, 40% internationally, and 20% from China. So you don't get the full haul, and so that's why we always say use a higher number.
Well, it
Because
only made like 18 million in China,
great, so
so that
what's
didn't hurt them too
20% of
bad.
18 million? What, less than $3 million? Okay, so that's not as exciting as I thought it was going to be. Now that we broke down the numbers here live on the show, But
3.2.
this is thank you. This is where the challenge
Actually,
is.
that's not right.
Oh, I was going to let you have it.
That's 1.8 and 1.8.
So what is that? 3.
So
Yes.
3.6. Yeah.
But that's the challenge, and this mindset of this is what we'll do, and we'll make up our money here. Robbing Peter to pay Paul. It's not working. But what does work for them? The parks. But if they ever have a downturn in the parks, that's a problem. ESPN, I know they just laid off 20 people this last Friday. We covered it here on the site. But live sports makes a ton of money. Those are the two cash cows. It's not. Everybody thinks it's Marvel. No, it's not. Marvel. Well, even when they were at their height, that wasn't it. It's the parks and it's ESPN. This is nice, but it's not necessary. But you know what you can't do long term? Can't keep losing.
No.
Look, even bad football teams, and we grew up watching some bad football teams, and I'll still sit up at night and watch a bad game because you know what? Football's better than nothing. But you know what? Teams that lose year after year after year, at a certain point, go, it's time for a change. We need somebody new to help us lose. Not, hey, we want to be winners. It's like, could we lose a little bit less? And if we actually win something, yay us.
Well, you want to know what? You want to know what helped push Zack Snyder and his vision out is because look at the DCEU. 2020, you had Birds of Prey. Budget was about 100 million, made 205 million at the box office. DC wanted to lose their minds, so they're like, "Oh, it's okay. We got Wonder Woman 84, budget 200 million, made 170 million to the box office." HBO lost their mind. They're like, "Oh, let's redo the Justice League. Give Zack Snyder all this time and money. He spent a budget of 70 million. It was aired on HBO. How much money did they make off of that? I would say people that were already signed up and watching Aquaman and Wonder Woman on HBO were already signed up to watch this. So how much money did they really pull in for new subscriptions? I'm going to say not much. Then they're like, oh, we got this. We'll do the Suicide Squad. $185 million budget, pulled in 168 at the box office. And now they're running around ready to murder themselves or somebody, and then you've got Black Adam come out, and $260 million budget made 393 at the box office, and they want to set Dwayne Johnson up and say, no, this is unacceptable. You were supposed to turn the tide and save everything. It's your fault. But then you turn around and go, hey, Shazam 2, that might, oh Lord, no. 125 million budget, barely eked out 133, barely brought back its budget. And then after that, you have the greatest superhero movie known to man.
The Flash?
Sitting at a $220 million budget, and the box office is at 248. And we don't even want to discuss how much marketing was.
No, we don't. Listen, here's what you know about your marketing. And Indiana Jones was doing this. If you're making a deal with Applebee's, spend $35, get a free ticket to Indiana Jones. I'm not going to Applebee's, even if there was no promotion. If that's eating good in the neighborhood, you may want to move. Sorry, that's not my joke. That actually comes from Mr. Iglesias, one of my underrated movies. That was from one of the. I still think that's fine. I do eat at Applebee's, but I still think it's fine. The point is,
I mean,
it's been like that.
This isn't just Disney. It's all of them. HBO is having issues. They joined up with Discovery Plus. They're still having issues. Now they're sending some of their content to like Tubi and Roku. But you know what? They're now officially sending content to Netflix. That's I think we're going to have to wait and see how that plays out. That's either going to be really good for HBO or it's going to be really, really good for Netflix.
Well, and that's what they used to do. Remember when Star Wars aired on TBS or TNT?
Yeah.
Remember that? They licensed that out. They made a ton of money.
Yeah, exactly.
you had the Avengers air on TBS, or it was TNT for the first time. They licensed it out. Disney quit licensing everything out. They take it in house.
It got
Out of the theaters, they just stroke a check for
yep,
the licensing fee. It's just moving numbers on a spreadsheet. That's all this is.
yep.
That's why Disney Plus is in such bad shape, because they're stroking checks all the time, because they don't make money licensing it out. Now, HBO's in a different situation because they're in a streaming competition. Disney does not put out that much streaming content. They're kind of the anti HBO, anti Netflix. They don't produce that much, which is a totally different problem. You can talk about, well, we need less content, more quality, but you got to turn out content, not just one or two things total, and think,
Yeah.
Shake does not bring all the boys to the yard in this case. So,
Well, I think the idea there between comparing HBO, Disney, to Netflix is each of those streaming companies have different models.
yep.
And I think we're going to see soon which model is going to kill you, which model is going to make you explode in a great way, and which model is going to keep you going. Disney, as you said, they keep everything in house. It's on Disney or it's on Hulu. That's it. They don't get those checks sent out no more, even though they have been cutting a few of their inventory off, which I'm going to assume means they're going to be sending them out for some money. But HBO
Or
right now,
they write the taxes off. They
yeah,
it's better on the
yeah.
quarterly sheet. Yeah.
But I mean, HBO is doing it on a massive scale. I mean, they're hitting Roku, they're hitting Tubi, they're hitting Pluto, and now they're hitting Netflix. They're shipping Game of Thrones and what is it, Band of Brothers in the Pacific. Those are going to Netflix. And you've got, I mean, I know Westworld was considered the greatest thing ever in season one. It was really good in season two. It was all right in season three and season four. Nobody came and watched it. But I mean, it still has a very strong fan base, albeit a much smaller one than Game of Thrones. But I mean, they have a fan base. What was the other one that they shipped off to them as well? The one with the wolves, the Travis Fimmel was in it. I can't remember, with the android. Futuristic got 2 seasons, but either way, that got shipped to I think it was Pluto or Roku as well. And so HBO is massively siphoning off a lot of the content. And as you said, they have a lot of content that's in house. So I mean, they're leaning back toward the old school ways. Disney has doubled down on their stuff, and Netflix is poised to potentially benefit from everything. I mean, there are rumors that Netflix might try a new approach. They were attempted to do it with Extraction 2, have a limited release in theaters.
Well, that's going to actually move us into our Triple M overtime, because this is going a very interesting direction. Let me throw one more thing out at you, because you've laid out all these streaming services, Paramount Plus. We covered this on the site here on Midnight Magic Musings on the channel. We know Star Trek Prodigy got canceled. Bye-bye. We know that Picard, there is some talk about, should we come back and do a 4th season? Was season 3 better than 1 and 2? Oh, I'll say yes to that all day long. But, I'm not going to say it was great Trek. It was just better than 1 and 2. Take it for you, enjoy it how you want. But they're cutting stuff too. You saw them cut Prodigy. You saw them cut, Inside Amy Schumer.
And Below Decks, Discovery.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. What is it? Lower Decks. Which I actually watched a couple episodes on the plane trying to get back from the Pacific Northwest, and I'm like, okay. So it's Star Trek meets Family Guy. Got it. Okay, cool. And
pretty much.
With a few Easter eggs thrown in. If you like it, you like it. I'm not upset about it.
Yeah.
I'm just saying they're cutting things. They're cutting things too.
Let's face it. Jack Quaid is the superstar right now. He's on Prime with the superheroes. He's on Peacock with Star Trek. He's with HBO as Superman, My Friend Superman, or whatever it was called. He's getting rave reviews for it. I mean, he's all over the place. Good for him.
Well, they're cutting things, and then I'll take it to Apple. I'll take it to Apple TV, and then I'll toss it to you for any topics you want to cover. they've been in negotiations with the Pac-12 conference, sports conference, for quite a while, and the Pac-12 cannot secure a deal because they lost USC, Southern California, and UCLA are leaving,
Yeah.
going to the Big Ten conference after this season. There's not a lot of inventory that really plays well east of the Rockies. Maybe not even that far out. Maybe not east of Utah because you have the Utah, you have Colorado there. That's about the line. The point is, people are saying, well, what if they sign a deal with Apple TV? They'll do streaming. And I believe streaming is the future of sports. It's already here now. It's with ESPN Plus. That's why I pay for it, see my alma mater play. Everything from swimming and diving, women's championships to college basketball, men's and women's, and all the other things as well. I think that's where you're going. It's just not there yet.
Yeah.
I think part of the reason they can't sign a deal is, well, it's Apple TV. Everyone loves Apple TV. The majority of the Apple TV subscribers get it as part of their T-Mobile package. If you look at who pays versus who has a subscription because of their phone service, watch my hand. Subscription because of the phone service.
Well, that's
And so,
the same with cricket and HBO.
well, see, and their numbers look good, but they're not really accurate because they're not getting the revenue for. I'll just throw out a number. Let's say 75 million subscribers. If 48 of them, or 50 of them, or more are, it's just part of their plan. You're not
Yeah.
getting the revenue there, and I think that's a real challenge for these streaming services. There's so many bundles and things that you can do, and that's the big fear. Dude, I believe one day ESPN will bundle it out where you can see live sports. Right now, you can get
Yeah.
ESPN Plus, but you still have to have a cable service or a satellite service or YouTube TV or something to tie that
Yeah.
back. I think the day will come where that will change, but a lot streaming is changing the world faster, I think, than we really know. But that's one of our topics we wanted to cover in Triple M Overtime. Did you have any other things you wanted to bring up here in sort of a free for all situation?
Actually, the new Mortal Kombat movie coming out. Um, so we have a lot of the returning characters. Joe Chasm's back. Scorpion's back. Uh, the new character that was created and introduced in the last movie is back. But it's official. We now have Johnny is going to be in this one. Oh
Johnny,
yeah, Johnny. Yeah,
as in Johnny Cage.
okay.
Okay, just making sure I was
You
on the
know,
same.
we
Okay,
know. Okay, what was that?
I just want to make sure I was on the same page. Go ahead.
Okay, what was that?
No, I was just making sure that I was following the right John. Go ahead.
Yeah. So I mean, we know in the OG version he was on. The second one he was killed in the first 5 minutes, but in this one he will be played by Carl Urban.
Yep.
For those who are not familiar with Carl Urban, he is on The Boys as Butcher. He is Bones from Star Trek. He's Dredd from the 2012 Dredd. He's Éomer from Lord of the Rings. You don't know who he is still? I can't help you. But either way, he is going to be in. Shaved off his beard, and he's got blonde frosted tips in his hair. So you know, he's a little bit older than I would think, but you know what? I love Carl Urban, so I'm actually looking forward to this.
So I didn't hate the last Mortal Kombat movie. I know that some people just were ready for it to fail before it even came out, and
Yeah.
look,
McCad Brooks, I think, was his Jax.
yeah, I didn't have a problem with it. I mean, look, we saw the original Mortal Kombat back in the mid '90s when the game was hot, and I
Get
loved
over
it.
here.
Was it good? No, but did it have to?
Sorry.
Thank you, Lord Raiden. We appreciate that.
Christopher Lambert. He's awesome.
Or Christopher Lambert, if you will.
Lambert.
I thought the first one was good. Of course, they had cast turnover for the second movie. Um, it stands up. It's cheesy pop culture, but it had to build on something. We'll see how
Yeah.
this one goes. There's really an appetite in Hollywood. We got to turn everything into a franchise. If one movie does well, we got to do more of them. I think that's going to hit a wall too because growing up in the '80s, the '90s, and whatnot, everything wasn't meant to be a franchise. It's just things morphed
Yeah.
into it. I cannot count how many Friday the 13th movies there were because I don't want to. I cannot count how many Nightmare on Elm Street. Actually, I can count how many Nightmare on Elm Street. They were less than Friday the 13th movies, but or Halloween movies.
Not by much. Yeah.
But think about the franchise we had in the 80s and the 90s. So let's just go.
Sci-fi and horror.
All right. Let's take a quick look. Let's see how many you remember. What are you, John Cena? Now you're gonna do the five knuckle shuffle. Um, what was that one? Was it Tracers?
Yes.
Absolutely,
Tracers.
absolutely terrible.
Guyver.
In spite of the fact Mark Hamill was involved.
In the first one.
Yeah, that was tough. What about?
Tremors.
Well, no, Tremors was good. I'm sorry, Tremors was any movie that has Reba McEntire in it has to be good.
7 of them.
And a TV series. Are you counting the TV series?
And a TV series that went one season on Sci-Fi.
Let's see. What other things do we have? Was it Ghoulies?
Yep. Ghoulies. Yep.
Absolutely terrible. Um,
Critters.
what?
Critters. 4 critters.
That's the one I was thinking about. Yeah. Yeah. That
2
was
gremlins. That also has a cartoon TV series that just aired recently.
Did it really now?
Tales of the Mogwai. Yeah.
So I'm completely shocked by this information. I was not aware such a thing
Yep.
actually happened. But those really have been the franchises. Now we see it's across all genres that they're
Now
trying
it's
to.
reboots, sequels, remakes, or revivals.
Do we get any credit for American Ninja? I feel like it needs a little bit more credit, and sometimes it gets.
Michael Dudikoff and
one,
James Bradley.
one day we will do a show dedicated to Golan Globus, who is responsible for Canon Films in all of these movies. If you don't know, you missed out. If you've never
There
seen
was
Three of the Domination, you missed out.
what was it? Louis Gossett Jr. The airplanes. Ace. What?
Iron Eagle?
Yes, Iron Eagles.
Oh, dude,
There's like 4 of them, 5 of them.
that is true. Also in The Punisher as well, just for the record.
The one with Dolph Lundgren.
The one where he couldn't wear the shirt with a skull on it because we didn't want it to look like, it was actually The Punisher.
Even though he had a pretty high kill count.
There were a lot of bullet casings left in that movie. That is true. But you have the Chuck Norris movies because he kept releasing movies through them.
Michigan Action 1, Michigan Action 2, Michigan Action 3.
Is that Thunder?
That was Thunder. And Lightning.
Could you send something about an hour and a half down my way? We could use some of that too.
Oh, I'm sure it'll come.
All right. Well, now we have sound effects here on the show. So, yay, us. We're always trying to improve as we go through.
We did mention Lord Raiden, so.
Don't cross him. He'll cold cock you. See what I did there. Okay. Anything else you want to share with the fans before we head?
No, just actually, I'm very interested to see how Indiana Jones fares over the next week with what was the name of the movie again? I had it pulled up and I already exited it out with Jim Caviezel.
Sound of Freedom.
So Sound of Freedom manages to beat Indiana Jones. That's a massive, that's a massive milestone for these smaller films, I would think, especially for faith-based films in general. Because I know Jesus Revolution just now is hitting rentals, and it's doing very well. I actually had the opportunity to watch it this past week with a bunch of kids, and we repoed the kids' phones to see if we could keep their attention. They sat there and watched the entire movie. So, I mean, you're talking youth and older adults, and it was definitely entertaining and enlightening. So, check it out. It's not bad.
well, as kids who grew up seeing pretty much every faith-based film that came out in the mid '70s and forward, I can honestly say this one was actually pretty good. Can't always say that. Nope, nope, nope. Not singing the song. Nope.
Well, what was it? The third movie was a continuation of the second movie, and she comes together. She starts off. She's being guillotined, and she goes, "No, I changed my mind. I'll change my mind." And then the earthquake ended that choice for her.
It's amazing that we're somewhat stable adults. All the things that we were subjected to as children, either we subjected ourselves to or we were subjected to as
That's
children.
terrifying.
It is a bit terrifying, actually. We will do a Realm Reality one day where I will review some G.I. Joe episodes I've gone back and watched recently, which absolutely that's what I'm talking about. All right, so on that note, we're going to bring this to a close before everything gets knocked out with it. It's good to see you. It's good to have you back. Just remember, the thunder rolls, the lightning strikes, as Garth Brooks once said. Do you have anything else you want to share? Another love grows cold, long and sleepless night. I can sit here and do the lyrics, but I don't think anybody wants me to do that.
You know what? That would be a nice way to go out.
I don't think anybody wants to hear me sing that deep in the heart. All right. On behalf of the Earl of Florida, I am the Lord Cephas. We thank you for joining us. We thank you. If you stuck around this long, thank you for having done that. Please do us a favor. Go ahead and help us out here. Go ahead and click the like button. Click subscribe if you're so willing, and share it out with people. Share it out with people you like. Share it out with the ones you don't. We're not picky. We appreciate anybody. We appreciate everybody. But again, on behalf of the Earl of Florida, I'm the Lord Cephas. We want to thank you for listening. We want to thank you for watching. And again, reach out to us. We'd love to hear your comments and hear your feedback. But with that, we are bringing episode 25 to a close. Earl?
It is lit.
What you
Love
get
you guys.
for that we're going to go. So long, everybody.